that's been kicked in the nuts by fake news. Nobody knows what to believe.
I don't know what I said.
We need one maverick newsman to cut through all the noise and tell us what's really real.
I'm not that guy. Hello, welcome back to Really Real with Richie Redding. I'm Richie Redding. I believe this is episode 30, and it's really just an exercise in mental illness. I'm so glad you guys are here with me. And our sweet dear Bobby is back, lurking in the background. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. I keep saying every week we got to find a way to pop me on cam, but you say save it.
I would say that is entirely untrue, and that I've been saying when you do these little vocal drop-ins, we should have you on your terrorist cam so we can see you live from Abu Ghraib, where you are currently being held. But I'm excited to have you back, man.
Thank you. It's good to be back. It's been a busy couple of weeks. Lots of things happening personally and in the world, man.
Yeah, well, every time I see you, you're skinnier, so I'm concerned that you got that shit. But let's get right into it. Congrats to the WGA, the Writers Guild, and Bill Maher can really suck a dick. I hope that he faces consequences for being a class traitor scumbag trying to break the fucking writers himself. Yeah, dude. I mean, if there's a more perfect emblem of liberal mindset, it's got to be that guy with his comment. Did you see it, Bobby? It was like, to paraphrase it, it was like writers have this belief that they're owed a living and they just don't. Showbiz is make or break, but it's like, yeah. But if you are writing on an HBO show, you should be like, okay. And he can't even like grant that. The thing is always driven me so crazy about him, that he's so fucking glib about comedy. And a thing that I've seen him, I don't watch the show, but like I've seen him do it so many times in little clips. And even in his like defense of like how he can say the N-word type thing, it's like, I did the clubs. I'm a comedy warrior. I've done comedy clubs. Could you imagine me at a club? Like, ugh. He's just such a corporate fuck.
Oh, you mean that thing I pray to God for every day that could possibly happen? You know what I mean? Like, well, what most comics hope.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's right. It's like, it's a thing that a lot of comics do strive to attain, is being a regular in clubs. But like, he's basically putting down clubs, which are the heart and soul of where comedy really happens. And if that guy jumped in the ring any day, it doesn't have to be the Cellar. I mean, dude, Gotham, go to the Stand, put him in the ring with a bunch of guys that are 10 years in and hungry and are really going for the kill and not just trying to make good points to other fucking people that drive plug-in cars. See how well that motherfucker does at the clubs. Ugh.
Put him up midnight at LOL.
See him get shanked by a Dominican who's got his baby with him.
Yeah.
But
come on,
yeah,
Billy, you gotta fight. That guy wants a refund. You're up, boss.
Yeah, but dude, it's just that the glib lib shit of oh yeah, well, I gave $1 million to Obama, so I'm liberal. Oh really? Like, you don't think that people that are experts at what they do and are the driving creative force behind your own show should be able to have like a middle class living? Scumbag. All of them scumbags. And it's fun watching the now Trump and Biden are both competing over who can like signal harder that they side with the auto workers, because there's so much positive public support for them. So Trump said that he was going to give his speech while the next debate is happening. He's going to give a speech to the auto workers, and now Biden preempted him and showed up today to go and walk with the auto workers, which is the first time in at least 100 years that that's happened. But both of them, it's just so hollow with both of them that like Trump can't say. Trump literally can't say, I side with them. He's like, all he keeps saying is like, I would get a better deal. I would get them a better deal. They should have voted for me because I would have gotten them a better deal. So he's just making it about himself. And then Biden can't actually say that, he can't go all in because he's like best friends with GM's fucking, with the chick that is the CEO. You need outsiders, man. You just need total outsiders somehow to turn this shit upside down. But I'm completely off track. I didn't want to talk about that at all. I not a celebrity watching show, but Bobby, if you could pull up that Instagram reel real quick.
Yep. Boom.
What would you hope that the viewers of Special Forces walk away with learning about Tara Reade, the person?
I'm not just like some cartoon character that they kind of have made me throughout the years. So I hope they realize that I'm not just 21 anymore. I'm 47, and stop judging me as a kid and let me be the woman that there is now.
This is Special Forces Secrets with Tara Reade. How'd you go to the bathroom on the show?
Don't ask.
Who made you laugh the most?
JoJo.
Who cried the most?
Who didn't?
Who snored the loudest?
Me.
We can't wait to watch you, Tara.
Stop. Did you remember Tara Reade's voice being that deep?
I always was kind of attracted to the smoky, gravelly voice of Tara Reade. So I would say this is way deeper than what I remember, Richie.
Dude, if that's not one of the hardest things to watch that you've seen this week, I don't know what possibly could be. They put her on a, quasi-celebrity reality show that's like doing physical exercises and shit.
Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. The only other person I know that's on this show for certain is one of the Vanderpump Klingon. So, like, reality star, that seems about where her career was headed.
That's not my concern. Bobby, did you see the video that I saw?
With how
did you
hot
actually
she
see it?
She finally lost that extra baby fat?
A 60-pound woman. Dude, that is fucking terrifying. That video is the perfect, like, you know how they always say, like, Hollywood will, like, chew you up and spit you out? Like, they've literally, whoever her agent is, has literally gotten the last ounce of fat, the last bit of meat on that Tara Reade bone is now thrown out in front of America to fucking dangle off a helicopter or some shit or whatever these shit stunts are going to be.
That really is the modern day Sophie's Choice. Do you want to see the girl that was kind of hot go the, Karen Carpenter route, or would you see her go the Amy Schumer route? Which is worse?
No, I want full Lizzo. With all due respect, Bobby, the Amy Schumer's a little bit played of making fun of her. She's just normal American looking, right? But she gets like hot girl roles. We want full on Mama June if somebody's going in the other direction. But oh my God, dude, that is such a crazy video considering like her starting point in American culture. And now this, but she's 47. That's why it would suck to be an actor. The only way to be able to work is to get cast in something. Fuck me. When we can just go and have a knife fight for $20 a night at LOL instead, give me that any
You're
day.
You're getting $20?
You gotta know the booker. But dude, I'm still doing the cold plunge and had a realization yesterday. Well, first of all, I think it is turning me into cold plunge guy. I'm having way too many conversations about it with way too many people. Like pretty much all the waitresses at the stand of the cellar like check in with me about how the plunging is going. I've got it down to 50 degrees doing 5 minutes. I don't think it's going to get colder or longer than that. But I had this realization yesterday that I was in the shower, like warming up from it and lamenting, because it hit me that I don't know how I'm going to do it in the winter so that I can keep the hose bib from freezing, right?
Yeah.
And then it hit me. It was like, oh wait, well I could just like fill the bathtub, because we have the second bathtub, which I talked about getting some pussy in last week. But I was like, oh, I could just fill up the bathtub with water, with cold water, cold like groundwater, and then put ice in that. And then I was like, I could always do that, and I didn't have to spend $200 on this cold plunge like a dickhead. It's just a tub. It's just a fucking tub that holds water. I could have saved a couple hundy on that.
So, my sophomore year of college.
But this was a real. This like, I was very. This was a moment for me, Robert.
No, I'm gonna make it worse. My sophomore year of college, I built an indoor pool in our fraternity house because we were a bunch of nerds, and that was the only way I thought we could get bitches in the house. And they made it very clear that you couldn't have either, any type of pool or anything along those lines, and that's where I came up with the idea I'd build a redneck jacuzzi where I used a horse trough and, a couple air pumps, and I built that in my room. So for the low price of $79.
In your room?
Yeah. It was a real thing. I was a real asshole. It was more of a, you told me I couldn't do something, so now I've got to find the one legal loophole that allows me to. And I did. So for $79.99, you could have had your brand new ice tub.
Yeah, not in Biden's economy. That's at least $300 now. But
No,
Bobby,
I've still
mark
got
this
it in my house,
Oh.
and I will sell it to you for $79.99.
So yeah, but dude, the thinking about, well, actually, it wasn't even thinking about it. It was just feeling that level of cold that, like, the other day it took me like a good half hour to warm up from it. I'm also not sure the point of this thing other than just no bitch assness, but it reminded me of my high school boathouse. Anybody that's a listener knows that I'm an old crew nerd, rowing nerd from way back. At Holy Spirit, the boathouse was in Ventnor, and there was the old Holy Spirit boathouse, then there was the Viking boathouse, and we originally rode out of the old Holy Spirit boathouse. That the catch was that it didn't have a dock, and it also was not by any means smooth. That there was just like, it was asphalt it was a couple hundred feet worth of asphalt, and then just a rocky embankment. And if it was low enough tide, that got down to like, smooth sand. But for the most part, it was just walking boats into the water. And especially when you started off, you're in heavy ass wooden boats that, they're from, those things had to be from the 60s at that point. They're just these big fucking log heavy ass boats with metal riggers on them. And it's also a pretty steep hill. So you would have to pass the boats down and then walk them into the water. And practices started, I think the first day was usually February 15th. So
Jeez.
February 15th in, basically Atlantic City, walking into salt water with the boats overhead. The upperclassmen all knew that the thing to do is to get as parallel to the water as possible, right? So that like everybody goes in at the same depth. And that makes it so that like there's not one guy in for a really long time also, or a couple guys in and everybody else is on dry land. But what they really knew, the real hot piece of information, was that there was a hole. If you're in like the far launching point, there was a hole that claimed at least one freshman a year, that with no warning whatsoever, you'd be going along and just this 10-foot hole, like one poor bastard would step into and just, zoom, he's just gone, dude. It's just fucking, it's just hair at the top of the water. And it was like a rite of passage to have it happen to you, but also to just like sit around and say nothing. Like nobody ever warned a single freshman, like, oh, by the way, there's a full-on fucking Mariana Trench about 50 feet away from here. But yeah, but dude, that would, so the craziest part about that was that guys would, because you have to do it twice, going in and out, and like all the time, guys would be back at their house, like in the shower, and then their feet would start bleeding, and they'd realize that they had like cut their foot on a seashell, like, you know, an hour and a half ago, and your feet are just so numb that you couldn't actually feel it. It's insane. I was also thinking about that when I first started rowing, I thought it was so cool that my coach lived at the boathouse, that there's this little like coach's quarters, like, yeah, and this building was from like the 50s. It was a glorified shack with a flat roof, and it was always like, oh, dude, that's so cool. But that's also the kind of cool of like your uncle lives in a car. And then,
Yeah.
But by the time you're a senior, it's like, oh, this dude's life fucking blows, dude. I think if I was going, actually no, not think. There was an alternate universe or alternate timeline where I thought I was going to be a rowing coach. And I did coach at Penn for a few years. And it had great examples of what to do and, just as importantly, what not to do. And that coach, the one in high school, was like, he was good if things were going good, but he was great at pumping you up for like when you were competitive. But a thing that I feel like it is especially hard for if you're a high school coach and like don't really have the ability to recruit is that you got to realize that like not every boat is going, or just not every team is going to be good, right? That it's like just so dependent on how many kids you have, who you got. Like you can only run with what you brung, you know? Like that's the thing that's great about a lot of long-term coaches, is that there's like a certain zen about them. It's why I've always like been drawn to like learning their mentality. But this coach, my senior year, we just weren't as good as we had been for the previous couple years. We just didn't have the bodies, and he would just yell at us. And it was like every practice, it was like holding us for like 15 minutes to just tell us we suck. and it was all because it was like the dude was so wrapped up in his own ego, and he was like undefeated in high school and then went on to not row in college because he was that good. But there was one point where we had this like, we had an almost win it was a tough loss because we did a bunch of things right, but we still lost by like a pretty good margin to our rival. Well, what was even harder for that guy to understand was that like things change, and Atlantic City used to suck, and this year they were fast as fuck, and they were like predestined to be national champions, right? And but we had like our best row to date against them I want to say it was like not that it matters to you guys, but it was like the city championships in Philly. So we're thinking that like, oh, we just did good. We get off the water and he's seething and he's like, all right, I just figured it out. I figured out what I have to do. I gotta be mean as a fucking snake to you guys. No more bullshit. From now on, it's Mr. Bad Guy. And it's like, oh, fuck me, dude. Like, we thought we actually turned some kind of corner. And so he just became our enemy. That it's like, I don't know if you've ever had this like kind of groupthink mentality where when the captain has completely lost the troops kind of thing, you know, that it was like if we were in war, he for sure would have caught a friendly fire by the end of that thing because he just turned into such a dick. And there was one day, it was so bad and so brutal that it was just like literally counting the days until you never have to see this guy again. And there was so we had moved from the old boathouse to the Viking boathouse at this point, and where it was like a crazy rainy day, and he was like, he told me, he like pulled me aside and he was like, all right, we're not gonna, there's gonna be lightning today, so we're not gonna be able to row, so I'm just gonna let these guys have it. But he tells me this like I'm not one of the guys. So he basically just told me that he was planning to filibuster and just yell at us for an hour and a half, right? And so it's absolutely pouring rain, and even the upgraded boathouse was a total piece of shit. It was a temporary structure. It was just like aluminum siding, and it was, and like, you know, an aluminum roof, the whole thing. And we're getting chewed out, but like, you know, you're the whipping boy at this point. Like, it doesn't mean anything that this guy is mad at you at this point. It's just, you're just completely glazed over, and it's dumping buckets of rain. And at one point, my buddy nudges me, and like, I look over at him and look, you know, he's looking straight up, and he starts smiling, and so above him is a plastic bubble that has started to fill up with rain.
Yes.
Right? And it's just like it's just like the shitty white plastic that wraps around insulation. Start watching the bubble, and it's just, you know, we're getting reamed. When I was in school, when I rode this, that, this, nobody hears a word of it. All we hear is bloop, 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 and this thing builds to the point, like, I mean, dude, it felt like it was like about to touch his head. It was so fucking big. It just mentally became a game for, like, I think it was probably 27 of us that were sitting there. Everybody at this point is no longer like taking the beating. We're just like smiling on the inside, watching above this man's head, but also like the smiles start to come out, and everybody's just like just like transfixed on this thing. And with movie-like timing, he's finally like, what is so fucking funny? And he hits the thing, and like 200 gallons of cold water fell on this bastard's head. Dude, I mean, the kind of laugh when you can't laugh is like the greatest fucking laugh in the world.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, every one of us just, it was like, the thing that sucked was that it was like a bunch of respectful, really well-disciplined kids, but just completely fell apart laughing at this dude. And he like tries to just keep getting madder for a second, and then finally he's just like, okay, Okay, I'm going to give you this one. But what was so crazy about it was that it actually was like a break in the kayfabe, and he literally got douche chilled into being cooler. like I know there's a lot of the mentality of I'm gonna break you down before I build you up, and it was like maybe in his psychotic way that was what he was trying to do, and but like it literally broke him that he just fucking he for the most part stopped being a dick that day. Once everybody pointed and laughed at him. And it was like God actually intervened on behalf of a bunch of 17-year-old kids.
How did he handle it?
Getting hit? Well, at first he was just furious. And I think he just saw how much joy... I don't know what it was that he processed that realized that he was being a massive jerk-off. But, I don't know. Something changed in him that day. If it was Morgan Freeman doing the voiceover, something changed in him that day. But yeah, he the things that you look back at when you realize that like the adults in your life were just a total fucking train wreck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I told you this before, that I was like 30 before I realized that like every injury of every adult that in my life, every time it was like, I remember my gym teacher fell down the stairs and he was a 27-year-old jock. Like, how'd you fall? Because he was wasted. That's how. That was our common toast was always to Coach Brestol's teeth. It was because he was at the boathouse, and in his defense, fucking guy was going through a divorce. He was living in this goddamn boathouse. You've got a bunch of scrubs that suck at rowing, and you used to be awesome, and all you want is for them to be dope, so it makes your life better, and you have something to cling to. And then they just keep stinking it up and losing to your rival. It's not good. It's definitely not good. But he and also there was just like no resources whatsoever, so he had to do everything himself, including like the boat repair and also like the maintenance on the boats. Those boats are, well, at the time they were fiberglass, so something wasn't watertight, so he had to do like it's basically like fixing a surfboard. You got to put like Bondo on it and shave it down and keep reapplying heat and all that shit. And the story that he said was that this was also that year. This was like earlier that year before that incident happened. He said that he was in the boathouse working on one of the boats, and he didn't have the doors open, so it wasn't properly ventilated, and from having the varnish and the Bondo open, that he just stood up and just fucking pulled a whitey, went like straight down.
Oh
face.
God!
It was like he looked like he got curb stomped, but as an almost 45-year-old man, which was his age at the time, I am 100% confident that he was huffing at the boathouse.
Yeah.
Boys, if you're gonna huff, you gotta sit. It's just one of the rules. You gotta sit when you huff. But yeah, to Mr. Brestol's teeth, poor bastard. But well, I sure went off track there, didn't I?
Yeah, but it was like a nice journey through a river on a cold, wet day.
Oh, wait, speaking of which, okay, so here's the thing, is that, I told you that we changed boathouses, right? That like by this time we had upgraded to the boathouse that has a dock, and that was because we're like it was, I think it was like my sophomore year or whatever. We were complaining, we're just like freaking out ahead of time about how it was going to suck to walk into the water again. He was like, I could always talk to the Viking boathouse and we could just row out of there. It's like, wait, like we could have a dock? He's like, yeah, but I mean, come on, we're Spartans. It's like, we could have a dock. He's like, yeah, you guys didn't know that was an option? Like, no, we didn't know that was a fucking option, man. So because this guy just like got such a hard on for doing things the old fashioned way, we had to walk boats into water and step on fucking broken seashells and shit just to make him feel tough. It was like, dude, there's no points for that. There's absolutely no correlation between suffering and speed. So yeah, that was another one of those watershed moments of like, oh wait, there's a better way, and we're just being absolute fucking retards because this guy thinks it's cool. for every freshman that died in that hole. Here's to Mr. Bristol's teeth. But oh, dude. So I had a whole bunch of shit I wanted to talk about, but I got to tell you this story too. Had a truly bizarre 5 or 6 minute interaction on Saturday night. I was coming home late from doing spots, and actually no, it wasn't even that late. It was like 11 o'clock, and I drove into the city this day, and on Marin, like I made a right turn onto Marin, which is like the last thing before the tunnel, right before the Holland Tunnel.
Yeah.
And zipping along, so is the car in front of me, and they lock up the brakes and like swerve a little bit. So I stop for a second and then go around them, and there's a woman on the ground right in front of this guy's car, like in the headlights, and it's raining and shit. So I pull over also, throw the flashers on, and I run back, and there's the most sushi you've ever seen just scattered all over the place. And an Asian person with a lot of like white, like mime ass makeup on, and a purse and a geisha dress, and some stubble, and a very deep voice that I went over, and they're just laying on the ground at first, and I was like, "Are you okay?" And they're just like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Are you okay?" "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna call you an ambulance, okay?" And they go, "That's gonna be expensive, too expensive." It's like, okay, I don't think money doesn't matter right now, okay? And I start calling, and it's like a really nice BMW that's pulled over, that that's right in front of them.
That did it.
Yeah, that did it, presumably, and because like I'm still not sure at this point if it's just like a person down or not. Like it's just
The BMW could be helping.
Yeah. And then out of the BMW emerges a Dominican guy, and he's like, "Yeah, we need an ambulance," and I'm on 911 at the same time, and so I'm just like, "Yeah, I think they've got it, but I don't know what to do," and like I hear him giving the address and stuff. He's like, "Yeah, man, I was just driving, and then it just came out of nowhere, and yeah, I hit this guy." And he says "guy," and you hear "ah," right? So his biggest concern was clearly making sure that he didn't have to pay for it. That he's like, yeah, man, this guy just like jumped out in front of my car and I hit him, man. And there's food everywhere and he's on the ground. And it says, like, dude, he must have said guy 10 times, and every single time, so that it was not a coincidence. You just hear, ah! It gets like real high, and he's like, yeah, I'm standing over top of him right now. Ah, what the fuck? Ah! And then as it reaches like peak chaos, because I'm just on the phone like, yeah, I think they're sending somebody, and my 911 operator was like, okay, yeah, a call is in. They're sending the police and ambulance now. And then out of the back seat of this guy's car emerges some white chick that's like, so I'm just gonna call another Uber, okay? It's like on its way. So, dude, if that doesn't perfectly encapsulate the American experiment, that a Dominican man who's living his dream by driving an $80,000 car, Uber X, smashes into a Chinese man living his truth as a Japanese woman, as hundreds of dollars of sushi rot on the ground, and a mildly inconvenienced girl from Hoboken just checks out of it.
Yeah, no regard for humanity whatsoever.
I mean, to be fair, you pay for X, you expect,
X gave it to that Chinese guy in the street.
Yeah, or XL. I don't know which one it is. Either way, fuck me, dude. I don't, Uber Black, that's what it would have been. Uber Black. But yeah, dude. I just like, I walked away from it because like by the time I got back in the car, we heard sirens, and it was like, did I just do good there? Like, did I help? Oh man, the thing that really kept me up at night was a couple $100 worth of sushi fucking laying on the ground. That's a tough one.
Jeez.
Dude, you remember the alien story I told you?
I do.
So, well, first of all, I meant to get to it last week. That I can't believe, I mentioned hoaxes last week, and I can't believe that there's people that initially bought and are still buying I've heard so many comics talk about it like it's gospel fact. Like, well, yeah, they showed the alien bodies now. Like, we've seen the aliens. That was not a fucking alien. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was the paper mache ET look like.
Yeah, the two actual ETs that they put together.
From the guy who did the same thing in Peru?
He did the same thing in Peru, but he also, well, he did steal real, like, 1,000-year-old skin or some shit from Peru, but he's like a multi-time fraudster that somehow the Mexican government let this guy get in front of them. But also, it's like to testify in front of Mexican government or Mexican Congress is not under like perjury penalties. You're just like, they basically are like, you swear to tell the truth? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, seriously? And that's it. That's the whole thing. But so Gus Constantelis, who's a really funny comic, did that. He mentioned those aliens, and I had to scold him, and he's like, okay, well, and he's super gay, but he's like, well, I believe in aliens and UFOs, and I was like, dude, I've seen a UFO. I believe, and he's like, my brother saw a UFO, and I was like, shut up, when? And he said it was like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, what did he say? And he's like, it started with like 7 lights, and I was like, let me finish this for you. And it's completely silent, and it goes into 1 light all of a sudden, it condenses into 1, then it might go to 3, then 5, then 7, then spin around and turn off and come on and turn on somewhere else completely silently, and then come back, and it's like they're searching for something. He's like, shut the fuck up. Identical to what his brother saw a couple weeks ago in Staten Island, and apparently I couldn't get into it on time for the episode, but there's like a Facebook group about it, which must be hilarious. A bunch of Staten Island people talking about it. But
I swear to fucking God,
Yeah.
bro, I saw it.
Yeah.
Get the Louisville Slugger.
on my fucking mother's grave, I swear to God, on fucking St. Peter, I swear. But yeah, dude, how crazy is that? I mean, and I've heard that thing repeated by so, like, not people that I've met in person, but I've just seen so many accounts of that exact thing that my entire family saw. So, truth is still out there, brother. The truth is still out there. But oh, I had a note to self. I actually felt kind of bad last episode that I felt like I was defending Russell Brand, which I'm not. The only thing that's weird to me about it, and yeah, somebody said that made a great point, which is that you don't stop doing movies and start just talking about medicine on YouTube just because you're really fired up about medicine and YouTube. Like, no, you got ran out of movies. But it's such a wild thing that somehow you are presumed innocent until proven guilty with anything other than sex allegations. If it's a sex allegation, you are going away immediately, right? Like the perfect example of it is Al Franken, who I'm actually doing a show with this week. But
Name drop.
but yeah, what's that?
Said name drop.
Yeah, pick that up. But no, I mean, dude, the Al Franken thing, the way that he got thrown over so quickly, and I mean, he pretended to grab boobs of a girl that was pretending to be sleeping, and then she turns around 15 years later and says that she didn't know what was happening when everybody else in the picture said that it was a posed picture and it was a stunt. But when that happened, it was basically the end of me, like, giving a fuck about Democrats. It was just like, oh, you guys are such fucking pussies, and you have a purity test that nobody can pass. And this snake is just going to eat itself until the end of time at this point. That, I mean, they pushed one of the smartest people that they had in the whole fucking party. Oh, I gotta switch earphones.
Something just happened audio-wise, yeah.
One sec. Do. Hold, please. Sorry about that, Bobo. There you go.
Now we're
Got me? Yeah. But yeah, they pushed one of the smartest people and best thinkers in the whole party out just so that they could somehow shame, like, who was it? Roy, what's your boy? Who's the...
Who's my boy?
Yeah, the guy that Doug Smith beat. Is that even his name? I'm falling apart. The Roy, the senator that was gropey, the handsy senator. Cut all this out, Bobby. Cut it out. Who am I thinking
Oh,
of?
Roy Moore.
Roy Moore. Yeah. Yeah, it was Doug Jones. It was basically to just to prove a point to Doug Jones or to Roy Moore. They pushed Al Franken out, and it was just so much fucking sacrosanct of, oh, you know, if these allegations are true, they have to be taken seriously. Like, no, they're either true or they have to be taken seriously. It's not one and the same. But I'm only saying that just to get to the Menendez thing is so great, and he's really doing it right. Have you been following this at all?
Stuttering John? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Just
Old
very
Bob
vaguely. The
Menendez.
bribery, the gold bars.
Dude, it's so good. Yeah, he's accused of helping to keep the faucet turned on for It's two like really glaring ones. One of them is keeping the money faucet turned on, or the weapons faucet turned on for the Egyptian government, which has all kinds of human rights abuses and all this kind of shit. And then the other one is for a shady Jersey businessman who he's helped get out of like fraud shit. And there's like direct payments and also like text messages between like his wife and him. It's like, he offered this, I think I'm going to do it. It's just dead to right shit. But yeah, he had hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash literally stuffed into a blazer in his closet with his name on it. That like you couldn't get caught holding the bag any more than sewing your name into the bag. But that, and yeah, and he has 2 1-kilogram bars of gold. There's a search on his phone that says how much is a kilogram worth of gold worth, or a kilogram of gold worth. like you couldn't have like boomer queefed this thing any better. But this is what I'm talking about, that he's doing it right. That like, well, here, you'll hear it. This was Monday, and then there's a video from today, or maybe it was 2 days ago, 1 day ago. But Menendez has denied any wrongdoing, blaming the prosecution on forces behind the scenes who cannot accept that a first-generation Latino American from humble beginnings could rise to be a U.S. senator. An attorney for Dybus and Tim Donahue said he was confident his client would completely be exonerated of all charges. So, yeah, that's the problem. He's just, people can't believe that he's first generation, you know? And dude, he's been at it for like 30 years or some shit. Like, you would think that if somebody was going to take him down because they don't like Cubans, they would have done it way earlier. But it's also super impressive. So because like 10 years ago or something, he was also, it might not even have been that long ago, he was also brought up on corruption charges. And he basically pulls a Trump, which says that he's like, oh, I beat all the charges, there's nothing there. He's like, that's not what that said. What it said was that it was a hung jury. So half of it was like, and it probably only took like one person to hang the jury. So maybe 11 people thought you were guilty as shit, and then the other one just dug their heels in and wouldn't fucking convict you. But
dug their gold-plated heels in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's literally not a not guilty verdict or an innocent verdict. It's just like, yeah, we couldn't get you, you fuck, and then they just dropped it. But and that one was for like taking private flights from donors. But here's the new one of click on Because I'm Cuban. I mean, you know, who amongst us does not pull out hundreds of thousands of dollars over 30-year periods and stuff it into their coat pockets, not even in a safe. But so that's basically the Because I'm Cuban defense, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And I mean, you know, everybody knows that Cubans of any kind of wealth had to hide their money, or they could get their money confiscated, as he said, by Castro's regime once the communists took over. But the problem is the Menendez family made it to America in 1953, and Castro took over in 1959. So that doesn't quite hold up.
Oh no!
But, yeah, and also that with the withdrawal thing is like so provable or disprovable that, like, you know, can he like, it'll definitely be very immediately clear if he can just show over 30 years, because it is impressive that he went back far enough to give it 30, because he said 30, right?
Yeah, he definitely did.
Right. So every time you take out $1,000, you just say, "I put that in the bank," or "I put that in my coat." But also, if that's true, then he's going to have 1,000 stacks that go back to like 93, and that's super traceable. Like they'll know when the money, a general idea of when the money is from. But they're also saying, his opponents are saying that it's very likely that it literally has DNA and fingerprints from the Egyptians and from the guy, from this Jersey guy that paid him off. I just picture the feds start to like look at the money, and there's just a bunch of sand from the pyramids and shit. It's just, this is mummy dust? What the fuck is this? But dude, the move is just deny, deny, deny. Like, I don't even think he should have given that much of a denial. He should have just gone full. The Trump playbook is the playbook. It's a witch hunt. That's all it is. They're just racist. Right?
I would even go even the McGregor route and just be like, what, you broke bitches don't have suits lined with $100,000 and 2 gold bricks lying around?
Yeah.
What? You're mad at me because I'm wealthy?
Right. I don't hate it. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, you have to go. This is a Democrat trying to play a Republican's game, and it just doesn't work nearly the same. But the reason that they're not going hard at him is that he's like the head of like the Foreign Relations Committee, so they have the purse strings for basically everything. So everybody's afraid to say that he should step down. Fucking Fetterman was the first one to say anything, but it's great that Fetterman said that he's going to send him back he's going to send back his $5,000 campaign donation in $100 bills stuffed in an envelope. Like that's what I'm talking about. Troll both sides, Fetterman. Let's go. But he should have gone full George Santos, which is like if you get caught with your dick hanging out of your pants, somebody's like, "Hey, your dick is out of your pants." No, it's not. Like it's
not my dick.
That is the way. Yeah, not my dick. Yeah, it's a dick. It's definitely a dick. It's not my dick. But all right, before we get out of here, I feel like we have to really, really give big ups to, what was his name again?
Adolf Hitler.
No, that's not his name. What's Mr. Hunka. What's his name? It's a terrible name. Terrible Ukrainian name. Yeah, well, it's not jumping out at me right now. Where the fuck is it? Why can't I find this guy's name? I'm just seeing. Oh, Yaroslav Hunka, 98, for receiving his standing ovation at the Canadian Parliament, or House of Commons, being called a hero and getting the standing O that he deserves for his part in World War II. It's, it was a long time coming, but he finally got his comeuppance, Bobby. It's a beautiful thing.
Do you think he knew?
Do I think who knew?
Hunka, as they were honoring him, he was like, "This isn't going to end well."
For anybody that has been under a rock and doesn't know what I'm talking about or just isn't on Twitter, turned out old Mr. Hunka was a big hunka Nazi, is what he was. He was part of the Waffen-SS, which is implicated in just dozens and dozens of atrocities and war crimes, a lot of them in Poland. And they were just full-on Nazis. But, well, I mean, so the question is if he was completely out of it, I think, for him to show up. Because you would think if you're a Nazi living in Canada, you would want to keep a pretty low profile. Right?
Yeah, you're like, oh, God, this is almost as bad the opposite direction.
Yeah, I'm not trying to end up in Nuremberg here. So Yeah, I wonder if he's just been addled by time or some shit. But I don't know if he knew it was going to end badly. But what I know for sure is that Zelensky 100% knew that motherfucker was a Nazi, and you know he doesn't travel without an advance team going and checking out everything before he shows up. And they definitely gave him an itinerary and were like, "You're gonna bring up a Ukrainian freedom fighter, are you, from the 40s?" Like, dude, I mean that has to be such obviously coded language for Ukrainians, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
Because the reason that these retards thought it was a good idea was because he's a Ukrainian that fought the Russians during World War II when the Russians were our allies. So if you were fighting our allies, then whose side were you on? Right?
Yeah, exactly. It just took one look in a history book.
I mean, I feel like, a history book, or pull that motherfucker's travel papers somehow, like, whatever papers he got to get into the country, like, there's got to be something pretty loud in there. It's a parallel, but it's nowhere near the same. But to like, I remember meeting a friend of mine's dad in college, and he was like, "Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Canada in the '60s." And I was immediately like, "What are you doing in Canada in the '60s, dude? Wasn't there a war on?" And he just like smiled real big. He's like, "It wasn't for me." But old Hunka is like that, but with ethnic impurities. Not for him. Yeah, that's the thing that Himmler himself said, that the Ukrainian fighters had to be actual SS because they were more Aryan even than some of the German troops. So that's not great.
Not what you wanted.
Yeah, but like the whole thing just made me realize, hilariously, that before the made me realize shit, but Poland might try to extradite the guy. There's like no statute of limitations on war crimes from World War II. So this poor bastard might have popped up at 98 just in time to get hung in Poland. It would be wild, dude, if he fucking gets extradited. But
the good news is, did you hear what Trudeau's doing? What he's saying to get out of all the trouble he got into?
No.
He's saying they're just doing this because he's Cuban, and that there's a strong distaste for Cubans in Canada.
No way.
No. You know the rumor is that
Okay.
he's Fidel's
Yeah.
son. That's the joke I was making.
Yeah, Trudeau Castro. That's fucking hilarious. But so one dude, the guy who's the Speaker of the House is stepping down because he brought shame upon the House. Like, what? You honor one Nazi and you're going to step down? Trudeau's doing blackface at every party that he goes to. You have one Nazi. One fucking Nazi gets a standing O, and you've got to lose your job. It's bullshit. But it made me think that, like, it must have been such a weird period, like after the Civil War, when you find out somebody is a soldier. It's like you got to hold on to that thank you for your service. You were a soldier, were you? Thank you for your service.
See, I think there's about a 30-mile wide line where you have to be careful. Otherwise, it's like, we lost, didn't we? We gave him hell, though.
Yeah, gave him hell. No, you definitely had to make sure. Like, I'm positive that my mom's side of the family participated in the Civil War, but for whatever reason, we don't have too many pictures of them hanging up. You know what I mean?
I get that. That said, though,
Win some, lose some, Bobby. Win some, lose some.
I had the pleasure of meeting Robert E. Lee's grandson, And we were
Oh, yeah.
5 minutes into a
Johnny
car
Baseball.
ride before he brought that up. So some people are proud of the heritage. Yeehaw.
Oh, if it's big enough, if there's a statue.
And he's
you
one of
can
the good
mention
ones.
it, but yeah, he was hammered all the time anyway. But all right, buddy, it was great hanging out. And I'm Richie Redding. That's really real. Thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe, put it up your butt. All those things. Thanks.
In a world that's been kicked in the nuts by fake news, nobody knows what to believe.
I don't know what I said.
We need one Maverick newsman to cut through all the noise and tell us what's really real.
I'm not that guy.